Action scenes don't make your story exciting. It's what happens after the action that makes people care. A car chase with no consequences? Boring. A punch that doesn't cost the hero anything? Who cares? If your fight scenes aren't changing the story, you are not writing action. You're writing choreography, which, unless you're writing a Power Rangers fan fiction, it's probably not what you want. Let me explain. Who doesn't love a good action scene in a movie? Spectacle, guns, explosions, car chases. I mean, James Bond is great action. John Wick, fantastic, gritty, dark action. But the stories that we write as authors, they are not movies. Oh boy, controversial take. Raise the alarms. Carson spitting hot fire. Here's another hot take. I once heard a writer say that when they get writer's block, they blow something up. They create action to get out of a boring part of their story. And today I'm gonna tell you why that's terrible advice. By the way, if you like breaking down stories, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more and come join our Discord with over 500 writers just like you who want to share resources, chat stories, and even participate in writing challenges. Link below. Action in your book is different than action in a movie. We like spectacle of action in a movie, but that doesn't always translate to writing. You can still write something cool and exciting and tense, but your action in your story needs to carry weight. And if it doesn't carry weight or move the plot or raise the stakes, then your action is just spectacle, which works in a movie, but not in a book. Let's look at some examples. Let's talk about one of the best examples of action with real consequences. Tyrion's trial by combat in Game of Thrones Season 1. Tyrion has been captured by Catelyn Stark, accused of trying to murder her son Bran. He's dragged to the Eyrie, is that how you pronounce it? Thrown in a sky cell and put on trial in one of the most dangerous places in the realm. Now here's the important part. By the time we get to the action scene, we already know what's at stake. Tyrion has talked, schemed, and pleaded his way through every situation before now, but nothing is working. He's in real danger. He's out of cards to play. But at the same time, Catelyn Stark is acting on false information. She's not evil, but she's wrong, and she's willing to let Tyrion die for it. Which means the entire political landscape of Westeros is teetering on the outcome of this fight we're about to have. And then we meet Bronn. When Bronn steps forward to fight as Tyrion's champion, the stakes couldn't be clearer. If he wins, Tyrion walks. If he loses, Tyrion dies. And since this is Game of Thrones, we believe he could die. This isn't a safe story. There's no plot armor here. So when the fight begins, the action isn't just swords and movement. It's not spectacle for the sake of spectacle. It's storytelling. And that's the key. The action is only riveting because of the context, the danger, the political pressure, the injustice, the tension between the characters. And all of that builds to this moment where one man's sword will decide the fate of another. If this same sword fight happened with no buildup between characters that we didn't care about in a situation that didn't matter, we wouldn't care, even if the choreography was cool. And that's why action needs consequences. It's not just the threat of death, but the meaning behind it. Who stands to gain? Who stands to lose? What changes if it goes one way or the other? Because action isn't the point. Change is. Let's compare this tense moment of consequential action with another, the prologue. The prologue of A Game of Thrones is iconic. In fact, check out this other video I made a year ago about how this prologue directly contributed to selling 90 million copies of this series in an age where fantasy wasn't nearly as popular. The prologue of A Game of Thrones is about 5,000 words, and even if you haven't read the books, you should look it up online and read it. I have it linked below. There is a lot you can learn from this. The prologue reads like a mini short story, a scene that subtly does a lot for the reader. It has a climax of action, of a man fighting against an inhuman foe, a man who's overwhelmed. And if you read this scene in total isolation, you might have a middling experience. Is this just action for action's sake? The thing that we want to avoid? Maybe. But if this action scene is the prologue for a multi-book journey that you're about to go on, it does something else that's very important. It shows how grim the world can be. It shows that evil can win. And it shows the writing style of the author. It shows a grounded fantasy world that we haven't seen before. No magic spell will save the day. The action in the scene is a climactic moment, but the scene itself is focused on doing so many other things. The action on the page supports the atmosphere of the story. That's the purpose of this action. So let's pause here because this is huge. In the prologue, the action isn't about the thrill of combat. It's not there to dazzle you with cool sword tricks or explosive magic. It's there to set the tone, to establish dread, to make it clear that this world is dangerous and that the monsters aren't just myths. They're real and they're coming. That's the function of the action. It builds fear, it builds stakes, and there's a question in the back of your mind. If this is how the book begins, what kind of danger are we in for later? And that's what great action does. It opens doors, it shifts gears, it creates weight. It's never there just to look cool. Let me say that again. Action is not the payoff. Action is the pressure. It forces your characters into a corner. It forces them to reveal something. Whether it's their limits, their values, their desperation, or their breaking point. Which means if your action scene ends and the story is exactly where it was before, you didn't write a scene. I hate to say it, you just wrote a delay. But hey, this isn't about just swords and guns. Action can be anything with tension, an argument, a confrontation, a betrayal. Let's say two characters argue. What changes because of that? Do they stop trusting each other? Does one storm off and leave their friends vulnerable? Does someone overhear and twist their words? It's not the volume of the fight, it's the ripple effect, the fallout, everything that's affected by the action. You want your reader to lean in during action, not gloss over the page and tune out. And they'll only lean in if they think there's something to lose. In writing this script, I'm reminded of a movie called Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. And please tell me that you know this movie because it is insane. And I'm reminded of this movie because it begins with a huge action sequence. Like honestly, this could be the climax of any other movie. I'm not kidding, it's got explosions, runaway planes, a helicopter chase, a duel-like showdown, betrayals, everything you want from the spectacle of the action movie. But it's in the first 10 minutes of the movie. We know that Nicolas Cage and John Travolta aren't in any real danger. I mean, what would the rest of the movie be about? It's pure spectacle. And as a movie, it's so much fun. It's an insane movie. You absolutely should watch it. Nicolas Cage is the most psychotic person I've ever seen on camera. But the action is nothing more than spectacle, and it doesn't translate to our books. The action of your stories needs to have depth, consequences, fallout, retaliation. So how do you do that? It's all about context. Build your stakes before the fight. Face Off tries to do that with a teeny tiny short scene before the big action scene, but it totally misses the mark. You need to show us what matters. Take time to inform the reader on what might happen if the protagonist wins and what might happen if the protagonist loses. That's what happens with Tyrion and Bronn. If you can create stakes that are not just life or death, that's even better. Have action lead to setback. Have action lead to separation. Have action lead to long-term consequences, and have the reader understand that going into this moment of tension. Don't protect your characters. Don't protect your plot. Let the action break things. Let it shift alliances. Let it cost something. In a perfect world, you could look at the ending of your story and say, this only happened because of this domino effect of decisions. And those can be your moments of consequential action. That's when readers remember it. If you like this video, let me know down below and check out the Writing Theory podcast for more long-form writing content. New episodes every Wednesday. Make sure to come hang out in the Discord and say hi to 500 other writers just like you. And as always, thank you for watching.